this example, we're given a graph, and we're asked to draw the rectangles representing each of the following Riemann sums. We're going from 0 to 8, and in part A, we're looking at a left-hand sum with delta t equals 4. So delta t is width, change in t. So the delta t is standing for width, and so we're looking at a width of 4 for part A, so that means we're looking at 2 rectangles for both A and B. And so here we're looking at 2 rectangles. So our first rectangle is going from 0 to 4, and for the left-hand sum for part A, we're looking at the left-hand sum. So that means we're looking at this rectangle, because we're looking at the height is determined by the left edge, and we're looking at this rectangle. And for both of these, we have width is 4, and for part A, the sum is going to be, so I'll just write this as sum for part A, is going to be our height is 1 times 4 plus our height is 3 and our width is 4. So this ends up being 4 plus 12 or 16. Now what this actually looks like, we plugged in f of 0 times delta t plus f of 4 times delta t is the more formal language for this one. Now for part B, we're asked to do a right-hand sum, and we still have width is 4, and we still have n is 2 rectangles. So in this case, we're using a right-hand sum, so that means we're going from 0 to 4. The height of the first rectangle is determined by our height at the right-hand edge, and so we're looking at this rectangle, the area of this one, and from 4 to 8 we're using the area of this rectangle. So for part B, the sum is going to be 3 times 4, right? Height of 3, width of 4, plus 7 times 4, height of 7, width of 4, 12 plus 28, or 40. So for part A we got 16, and for part B is 40. The area, the actual area under the curve, is somewhere in between. We could take the average, or we could use part C and D to estimate even better. Now we're on to part C, the left-hand sum with delta t equals 2. So width equals 2, that gives us n, or number of rectangles, is 4. And so these are where our tick marks are. 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. And for the left sum, for part C, we're looking at from 0 to 2, we use the left edge for our heights. And here, from 2 to 4, we'll use the left edge. From 4 to 6, we use this. And from 6 to 8, we use this. And so we are actually calculating the area of these 4 rectangles. And so our sum is going to be f of 0 times 2, delta t is 2, plus f of 2 times 2, plus f of 4 times 2, and f of 6 times 2. 0, 2, 4, 6 as the determining our heights. And when we calculate this, we get 1 times 2. At 2, that looks like about 1.5 times 2. And at 4, we're at 3 times 2, and at 6, we're at 5 times 2. And so when we do these calculations, 2 plus 3 plus 6 plus 10, we get 21. Okay, now we're in the last one. Right-hand sum. Delta t is still 2, so that means we're looking at n equals 4 rectangles. And in this case, we're looking at the right hand, so from 0 to 2, we're using this rectangle for our height. We're using this rectangle. We're using this rectangle. Oops. And we're using this rectangle. And we're estimating the area under the curve with these Riemann sums. So for part D, we're looking at the Riemann sum would be f of 2 times width of 2, f of 4 times width of 2, f of 6, I'll draw that line, times a width of 2, and f of 8 times a width of 2. And when we look at this, we have 1.5 times 2 plus 3 times 2 plus 5 times 2 plus 7 times 2, and we get a grand total of 33. So for part A, we got 16. For part B, we got, 40. For part C, we got 21. And for part D, we got 33. So just using 2 rectangles, we get an estimate somewhere between 16 and 40. Pretty crude estimate for the actual area under the curve. By just increasing the number of rectangles, we get a better estimate, some number between 21 and 33. So we could say, okay, well, it's maybe it's halfway in between there, or we could, fine-tune it even more with more tedious calculations. But in later sections, we'll find out how to avoid these tedious calculations.